Greetings! This is General CJG here, coming to you with another Darth Vader comic. This one is one that came after the Hidden Blade, but before the last Purge comic, which was Iron's Fist, and it's Darth Vader and the Lost Command. So, joining me here is...
This is the Spider-Man Maniac.
Yep. And we'll be tackling this comic. So, we're going to start off with the first issue of Darth Vader and the Lost Command. So, you want to take the summary here, Doan, or shall I do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
So, Darth Vader is having a dream as Anakin Skywalker in another future if he saved Mace Windu from Darth Sidious and has his wife and a happy life. But he wakes up knowing that reality is much harsher than his dreams. And yeah, he's getting out of his healing chamber, I guess, and is dressed up as Darth Vader. And Palpatine gives him a mission to save Grand Moff Tarkin's son. But Grand Moff Tarkin is not happy that Darth Vader sent because he remembers the nonsense Darth Vader pulled in the AT-AT factory, which was, what comic was that?
It was Purge the Hidden Blade.
Yeah. So, Tarkin is not really trusting Vader, but Palpatine's like, I just don't mind that and sends Vader. After 4 days, Vader and the 501st and Imperial officers arrive at Tuan, and they're fighting against the natives to get information about Admiral Tarkin, Moff Tarkin's son. But the natives do not understand basic, and communications becomes difficult. And while Vader is trying to search the area, a woman appears saying that he can help Vader to get what he wants. And ends issue 1.
That's the first issue. So, what do you think of this one?
It's great that Tarkin does mention the AT-AT factory situation, because that kind of stuff is not normally forgiven or easily forgotten, right? If it wasn't Vader, that person who was in charge might get executed, so Tarkin does have a reason not to trust Vader.
Yeah, let's also not forget that Tarkin is basically Vader's rival, at least when it comes to who is the right hand of the Emperor during the...
Yeah, I mean, if we see A New Hope, they're more friendly towards each other, but this is the beginning of the Empire, so they are hostile to each other, I guess.
Yeah, they're definitely hostile. So yeah, I gotta mention that I find it really interesting seeing that alternate reality of what would have happened if Anakin had not cut Mace Windu's hand and would have instead allowed Windu to kill Sidious, and pretty much it's an interesting alternate scenario. Which is something, and I also gotta praise how the writer of The Last Command is basically Hayden Blackman, and because Purge the Hidden Blade was actually his previous comic, the one that he worked on before, I guess it makes sense that he would reference his own previous work. So it works as an EU connection, which we'll get to later, and also as a nod to his previous work. So, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I also like seeing how the Emperor's like, hey, Vader, Tarkin, stop your bickering and get on with the freaking work already.
Yeah, it's like, I don't have time for you guys, messing around here. Just do as I say and stop complaining.
Yep, indeed. Yeah, knowing the Emperor, yeah, he definitely wants shit to get done. He doesn't want his...
the Emperor knows that both Vader and Tarkin are important assets for the Empire, and I think he would want them to rather get along instead of bickering with each other, right?
And even if they don't get along, he just wants both of them to just know their place and just get on with the freaking work at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, indeed. Anything else to mention on this issue, though, one?
Not really.
Okay, now we go to the second issue. So, my turn to narrate this one. Okay, so Vader and the Imperials are pretty much doing operations on basic surgery on the corpses of the Atoan population. They're like dissecting them, and well, mostly because Vader's losing patience, and so Lady Sarah, she basically has a proposition for Vader in which She knows where Admiral Tarkin is, and so her terms are basically, I will help you find Garrosh Tarkin, and in exchange, you will declare me Queen of the Ghost Nebula. And, well, basically, he's like, I could force you to tell me, but she will pretty much just lie, so... So, yeah. Vader pretty much continues with his operations, and Captain Shelley, he pretty much is like arguing with Vader on what to do, and they decide to stop this section. Vader gets another vision of the alternate future. There's is one in which apparently Padme was senator of the Republic. That's interesting. Then Vader, that dream of Vader pretty much, well, definitely wakes him up hard. He goes on with Lady Sorrow to discuss the terms. He agrees to the terms, and so they go and look for the admiral in searching in the rubble of the Admiral Tarkin ship. And in there, they're exploring, and they find like it was destroyed from the inside, sabotage probably. Then they get an ambush from Atoan ships. Yep. So they fight him off. They manage to do it. Vader managed to crash into one of the ships and force them to pretty much land inside the destroyer in order to take them alive. And so he manages to fight them off and take one of them alive. He gets information. And then he discusses with Palpatine in the hologram regarding the information on where the next target is. Meanwhile, Lady Sorrow and the captain are discussing what to do regarding the next target. Then Vader is discussing with Palpatine that maybe it will be for the best to make sure that Garrosh Tarkin never survives the rescue. That he appears that he was murdered by the insurgents. And Palpatine's like, yes, this will make his father angry. Yes, carry on your plan, Lord Vader. And Vader, that's what he'll pretty much do. And then he decides, yeah, let's go a full invasion, a full attack, while we simultaneously also do a stealth attack. And that's where the issue ends. So, what do you think of this one, Doan?
I found it interesting that this hypothetical son of Anakin Skywalker's name is Jin. And Obi-Wan is nowhere to be seen, which is also interesting. Why there's no Obi-Wan. Because if you see this entire 5 issues, there isn't a single scene where Obi-Wan is either mentioned or shown.
Maybe because Anakin did not want to remember him at that point. Who knows?
And yeah, the son's name is Jin, which is interesting because Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah, Anakin basically, he probably would have named his son Jin Skywalker instead of Luke Skywalker, because remember, Luke was chosen by Padme at the end of Episode 3. So, and at this point, Vader doesn't even know that his 2 children actually did survive and were born. So yeah, it makes sense that he would pretty much be imagining what his son would have been like if Padme did not die. So, there's that indeed.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that Palpatine wants Grand Moff Tarkin. It's getting confusing because there's Grand Moff Tarkin, and there's also Admiral Tarkin, which you should not be confused. This Admiral Tarkin with the Admiral Tarkin in the hyperspace war, because yeah, right. You know, there's another Admiral Tarkin.
Yeah, it definitely can get confusing.
And if we're being assholes, technically Tarkin also used to be Admiral Tarkin in TCW. So, I mean, why are they doing this?
No idea, but we can easily assume TCW doesn't exist, at least in our minds. So at least we can remove that one out of the way of calling him.
And yeah, Palpatine wants Moff Tarkin's son dead, so the mob will basically be angry towards anyone who's against the Empire. I mean, that's a good strategy, I guess.
Think how the Sith think. Anger fuels their power, their desires, their motivations. So, in the Emperor's and Vader's mind, that will definitely help for Tarkin to pretty much be more intertwined with the cause of the Empire. Pretty much be more subservient to Palpatine and do his duties more, let's just say, more effectively. So there's that. Not to mention his son would probably be also cause him to get distracted, which is ironically what's happening in this issue. So there's that too. So, yep, indeed. Anything else to mention on this issue?
No.
Oh, I gotta mention one last thing actually.
What?
This issue actually says that Lady Sorrow, she actually got managed to speak Basic because she swallowed the tongue of one of the Imperial stormtroopers in some sort of ritual. Which, oh boy,
Uh,
that's one of an image to put in our minds.
are
Okay.
these natives humans?
They're near human. They're similar, but they're different. From the outside, they look human, but from the inside, in terms of their biology, they're different. So yeah, they
Uh,
look human from the outside, but in reality, they're different from the inside.
uh,
So there's that. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it on this issue. So now we go to the third issue. So Doan, want to do the honors on this one?
yeah. AT-ATs are moving, and then they're suddenly attacked by some opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And Darth Vader decides to have elite training stormtroopers. At least they don't look like clones, that's for sure.
They're storm commandos actually.
Yeah. And he goes and attack natives and Lady
Sorrow.
Sorrow. And this storm commandos are doing something fishy, suspicious, I guess, which will be revealed later. And Vader cuts down a bunch of natives, and then he sees some kind of a 3PO unit holding some weird container. And Vader knows, like, it's a bomb. And it's like, get down. And then he puts the bomb in his chest and then basically saves people.
Yeah.
And Vader finds one of the female natives and then tries to ask him questions, but it doesn't really work because language barriers, I guess.
Yes.
Anakin and Vader is still having another dream about what if Padme survived. And then he says assassins. And when he wakes up, there are a bunch of storm commandos, and Vader's like, I know who sent you, and you guys are all gonna die. And that's how issue 3 ends.
So what do you think of this one?
I mean, the scene where Vader's like putting a bomb in his chest is like so cool.
Yes.
Because normally Vader wouldn't do that. I mean, Vader is not so unloyal, but in most cases, Vader won't sacrifice himself to save other people, which is a trait that we could see that there's still Anakin Skywalker inside him.
Yeah. So indeed, definitely. So obviously he used the Force to pretty much he himself not get blown up, pretty much resisting the blast, though it did damage his control panel. So, but that's all the damage he took.
Yeah.
Vader's definitely very badass. So there is that. Gotta mention the action here is also pretty cool. Seeing the Empire storm the Atuan battleship that's escaping, like that's also pretty cool. And storm commandos and like all of it is pretty cool. So there's that. Got anything else to mention, though? One.
No.
Okay, so I guess now we go into issue number 4. So now we get into why the Storm Commandos, well, they pretty much wanted to kill Vader. Okay, so basically they start shooting at Vader. Vader pretty much manages to, well, take care of them. Which, I mean, it's Vader. How did the Storm Commandos even think they were going to kill Vader? Like, that's not easy. So there's that. One of the commandos actually revealed that Captain Shill, he thought that Vader was going to kill Tarkin, so therefore he assigned the Storm Commandos to kill Vader. And well, Vader confirms, yeah, he's right, and kills the last Storm Commando. Then we see a mutiny happening between the Stormtroopers and the Storm Commandos.
Are they clones?
They're more considered Stormtroopers. So, which makes sense. Clones did become Stormtroopers, so whatever. We can call them Stormtroopers to avoid any confusion. So, and Commander Bolka is a clone trooper. So there is that. Then Vader with Commander Bolka and the others, they pretty much go to Shell's hangar to activate a tracking device, but unfortunately the Star Destroyer was sabotaged and, well, is exploding, so Vader and Bolka had to escape, and so they go to try to find Lady Sorrow, but she fled, so they go to the hangar. These Storm Commandos are trying to escape, but, well, Vader pretty much threw a B-wing at their faces and exploded. So there's that. And so Vader and the others take the shuttle. They escape. And well, they managed to land it in the planet's surface. So they secure a perimeter. They're pretty much going to look for Captain Shill on foot. So they go on search, but they get ambushed. So Vader and Book and the troops fight back. So Vader's definitely taking he's pretty much killing the shit out of the Toan troopers, but unfortunately, well, Vulcan, his squad was not lucky because Shill, he pretty much has the troopers on point and he shoots them, and Vader, he got two flamethrowers throwing fire at him. So Boca and the stormtroopers were not able to survive, while Vader was immobilized by Lady Sorrow and the rest of the Atoan people. Then we got to Vader pretty much being restrained, even with a breathing mask and everything. And in front of him is Gorochi Tarkin. Yep, the guy he's been searching for the entire time. And Gorochi Tarkin explains that the reason why he's alive is because Lady Sorrow thinks that Vader could pretty much be persuaded in joining their cause, which we'll have to see. So there's that. Then Tarkin leaves. Then Vader gets a vision of Padme in front of him. And, well, that definitely did not go well. And the issue ends there. So there's that. What do you think of this one, Doan?
Yeah, I think. Let's see. There's not really much to say about this other than the fact that the Storm Commandos are fighting the 501st.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in this comic issue, the last part is interesting because it's another one of those weird visions where Padme appears, and anyone with a brain knows that it isn't weird. She isn't real. So that's what I'm gonna say. Because this isn't the first time they tried to pull this up, and later they tried to pull this up in Disney Star Wars, and no one believed it.
Well, there's that, yeah. But we're sticking to the U here. So there's that. So it is interesting seeing Vader restrained in a pole with some sort of a weird blue lasso. It is interesting.
It is also interesting to see that Admiral Tarkin is somehow persuaded by the lady, which is,
Yeah.
And the lady's so foolish that she thinks that she could actually persuade Vader to join her cause, which I don't know why would anyone think like that.
Possibly because she. Well, I think we'll get the answer in the next issue. So I don't think we should discuss that. At least not get into detail until the next one. So what I will mention is that basically Lady Sorrow convinced Gorocha Tarkin to pretty much offer to reveal all the system secrets and spare her people. And so basically. And also she forgave him from all the atrocities he was committing in basically Palpatine's orders. So that's what he wanted. So there's that. And well, then of course Padme arrives and the issue and they're there. So there's that. Anything else to mention on this issue, though? One?
Nah.
Okay, so now we get to the final issue. So this is the last one. So you want to narrate it, Dawn, or shall I do it?
So Vader's like, why? Looking at Padme is like in a really weird state because this version of Padme at least tries to look at Vader and he's disappointed and see how broken he is. And Vader's like, Anakin Skywalker is gone and he's really sad and all. And he tries to look for Padme, but Padme is nowhere to be seen. And Shale decides to attack Vader with a lightsaber for some reason.
It's Vader's lightsaber, actually.
And it doesn't work because if it works, there wouldn't be the original trilogy, but that's not besides the point. And there's another explosion, and Admiral and the lady disappears, and there's another vision of Padme, and Vader basically asks for forgiveness about the child who he killed, and Anakin he killed, and Padme forgives him, and she disappears again, which is starting to annoy Vader because visions appearing and disappearing would get on people's nerves, and Vader says, like, bring the vision back, and the lady says she cannot, and Vader tries to choke the Admiral, and then Vader's like, you guys are all useless, I have no reason to live anymore, and he basically crushes the entire ceiling to kill everyone inside there, right?
It was a suicide move, actually. He wanted to kill not just Tarkin and Sorrow, but also himself. So kill everyone.
Yeah. And then after 4 days, Vader somehow survived due to dark side shenanigans. And Palpatine says that Moff Tarkin will be more loyal and competent due to his son dying. And Vader asks, "What is I beating my master?" And the story ends.
There's that. Okay, so what do you think of this one, Dowan?
I think it is interesting from perspective where Vader tries to kill himself again. Wait, it's the first time? I don't know.
I don't remember if he tried killing himself before. Considering this is early to the Dark Times, I cannot really tell if he has tried to kill himself before. We know of the anger he felt in Episode 3, but I don't think he was trying to kill himself there. So, no idea.
It is still the early days of the Empire, and Vader still cannot get over the fact that he killed Padme, and he's still sad because there's still a part of Anakin Skywalker which remains in him, and he still doesn't know that Luke and Leia even are alive. So Vader is a broken man trying to get over the things, which is not easy, I guess.
Yeah. Indeed. Can I also mention how it's badass seeing Vader pretty much handle everything without actually even having his helmet and his suit like recovered? Like he literally is like, I'm pretty sure he literally has to use a lot of the dark side of the Force to maintain himself from dying. Like that's so hardcore and badass. Like seriously.
And surprisingly, the face doesn't really look that burnt or like he did in episode 6. He has a normal looking flesh, which is weird, or is this a artistic interpretation? Like why does he look like a normal looking bald guy?
He doesn't really look normal because he does have some of the scars and everything because he doesn't look normally bald. As you if you notice, does have some scars and his head does look damaged. The simple explanation would be that some of those burns must have already been healed at this point, at least some of them. So
I mean,
there's
I
that.
think it's the artwork because in some scenes he does look like a normal bald guy with
In some areas,
fully
yeah.
eyebrows and everything.
In some areas, yeah, but he doesn't look fully like an actual normal man. So there's that. So yeah, speaking of the artwork, okay, I gotta mention the art style. I like it, though I don't think it's my favorite out of all the Darth Vader comics. I think either the first Purge comic or the Hidden Blade, those have some really good art styles. Hidden Blade is because it's the same one from the Blood Ties comics. So I don't know. I think this one is pretty good, but it's not as good as those two. I don't know what you think about the art style.
I think the art style is pretty good overall in the old scenes, but some scenes try to make it look realistic, and some scenes try to make it look like it's freaking comical, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something. Like the artwork is inconsistent. When it's normal people standing and talking with each other, it looks realistic, and then when in some other scenes, it looks like a cartoon show.
I think the reason why it sometimes looks like a cartoon show is because it's basically like the panels are not zoomed in on the facial features of those characters, so that's why from far when the panel interprets them like being far away from the main panel itself, because they don't have those painted features, the faces look more simple. They do look more cartoonish. It's not meant to. Like they were not drawn like that to make it seem like a cartoon, but it kind of looks like it because of the way the art style is. So yeah, I see the intention, but yeah, that definitely does look cartoonish in some areas. So there is that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the best artwork for this story is the cover, not the comic itself, which is kind of sad if you think about it.
Yeah, there have been comics that where the covers actually are cooler than the actual artwork itself. So there is that. So yeah. Can I also mention how Vader once again took an explosion? Maybe not his face, but the explosion was like so freaking alongside him. Like holy shit. Like damn, there's like two explosions taken at his face. Like he's,
And I guess this comic is the beginning where he truly becomes Darth Vader, or do we have to wait more?
I think this is definitely one of those steps where he pretty much stops being Anakin and starts being Darth Vader. Yeah. So there is that indeed. So yeah. And I find it very interesting how Vader pretty much wanted to kill himself at the end. Like he tried killing himself along with Sorrow and Tarkin. He only succeeded in killing both of them, but he survived.
I mean, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? He was supposed to blame the natives for causing some kind of a rebellion against the Empire, but actually, Tarkin, the son, was participating in the rebellion, so he did the right thing.
Yeah, for the Empire, yes, he not only managed to kill both of them, but he pretty much made it so that they convinced Tarkin that the insurgents pretty much killed Tarkin. So Vader pretty much succeeded in the end.
Yeah, and you're right. It's kind of confusing because Tarkin was the insurgent.
Well, there's that, but ultimately Vader and Palpatine agreed to pretty much kill Tarkin and find some way to just blame it on the insurgents. So whether he was part of the insurgents or not, the final result was not going to change.
Yeah.
So there is that. So anyway, got anything else to mention on this one, though?
Nah.
Okay, I guess now we shall get into the EU connections, and this is where it gets freaking interesting. So I'll let you go first, though, with the EU connections that you got. So go.
In the Republic Commando 501st, it is mentioned that Vader incorporated the remaining clone ARC troopers and the clone commandos to the 501st. So we look closely while reading issue 1. You can clearly see a clone commando.
It's actually several clone commandos, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, the clone commandos definitely are indeed part of the 501st, and that's awesome. And of course, the Republic commandos themselves, well, they're an obvious reference to the Republic Commando game and the books. So there's that.
I mean, I would say specifically more towards 501st and Order 66. Because that's the book mentions that they became part of the 501st.
Okay, yeah, indeed. So there's that. What else do you got?
Talk is like, Vader, you idiot! Because of you, our AT-ATs were destroyed. Like, what were you thinking? What issue was that coming?
Purge the Hidden Blade. That's what Tarkin was referencing.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that. So, fun fact: the Ghost Nebula not only did it first appeared here, but it's actually been mentioned in Dark Times Fire Carrier 1, and it's even referenced in SWOTOR. Yeah, the Old Republic with its expansions.
I see.
So that's interesting. Yep. So there's that. Of course, the 501st themselves, Survivor's Quest, Expanded Universe reference, no surprise there. So there is that. Certain ships and stuff are from episode 3, but as both you and I know, they first appeared in the multimedia project, particular Labyrinth of Evil. So, for example, the B-Wings, they're from Labyrinth of Evil, so that's another EU connection there. So there's that. Here's an interesting EU connection that you probably will not catch on. Okay, so we saw Vader piloting a Eta 2 Actis class interceptor. You know, the same ones we saw in episode 3, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, you would think those are just a simple class interceptor, but here's the thing. That's the black Eta 2 Actis class interceptor for Darth Vader. That's basically his starfighter before he started using the TIE Advanced. And this specific one actually first appeared in Star Wars Galaxies, Rage of the Wookiees, the expansion.
Galaxies?
Yes, the MMO RPG, Galaxies. So it appeared there, but it got full-on canonicity in the EU with Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader. So that's an interesting one if you ask me. There's that. Then in one of the dreams that Vader gets, with the alternate future with Padme, his son. So apparently Anakin mentioned that he didn't want his son to pretty much get injured or something, and he mentioned Trandosha, which is basically the home world of the Trandoshans. And that home world was actually first mentioned in the prize spell, The Tale of Bosk.
Yeah.
Yep, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, basically. So there's that indeed. Then, of course, there's the Storm Commandos, which they actually first appeared in X-Wing Rogue Squadron, the book. So there's that. Then they were retconning to Return of the Jedi, so which is interesting. But yeah, they first appeared in X-Wing Rogue Squadron, though their first mention was Galaxy Guide 5 Return of the Jedi, which is interesting. But
Didn't know that.
yeah, but yeah, so those are the EU connections that I could find. Which ones did you find, Owen, if you got any more?
No, I don't. I only got the video game and the Perch comment.
Okay, so there's that. Oh, one more. The Atoan insurgency, alongside with the Ghost Prison, they were pretty much referenced in the Dark Times Fire Carrier 1, and even in Dark Times Spark Remains 1. So indirect mentions, but they were still referenced in some way. Yep. So for this comic to happen, is like it has more EU connections than Tyrant's Fist had, which was the last Vader comic that I tackled. So yeah, this is interesting. Anything else to mention here, Doan?
Well, one thing I do mention is like based on the story, Darth Vader has his clone commander change every time. If you look at one of the Dark Times in the Purge comics, one of the commanders called Commander Bill, which was in charge of the 501st, I guess. And then if you see in the Rise of Darth Vader, it's Commander. There's another commander, and then in here is Commander Boca. Like. Vader, just have a one clone commander and stick with it. Why do you change it every single time? Like, what is wrong with you? Do they all die every single time?
I mean, that's one possibility, but no, I think it's just that because every single one of them are now in the 501st, they don't have like their own specific like legions or anything. They pretty much could be just interchangeable. That's probably what it is.
Wait, what do you mean there's no specific legion? 501st is the legion.
Yeah, but that's Vader's fist, so that's the one Vader will always get. He won't really be having other legions for himself. So in regards to the legion Vader is commanding, it will make sense that that in the 501st Legion they pretty much be interchanging commanders.
And if you see Battlefront 2, we know that 501st Legion are all clone troopers, right? At least the one with white helmets.
Yeah.
It's interesting that there's so many non-clones in the 501st while reading this, so...
I think they were probably starting to recruit stormtroopers at this point. I don't know where exactly in the EU is said that they started recruiting stormtroopers, but the events of episode 3 already happened. It would not surprise me that they started recruiting some stormtroopers.
It was after the Camino incident, right? Where the Caminoans rebelled, so... I think it's pretty long before... It's way before that happened. We don't exactly know the timeline, but at least 9 and close to 10 years, I'll assume.
Possibly. Who knows? So, there's that. Anything else to mention?
No, not really.
Okay, well, I guess now we get into the conclusion. So, Doan, you go first.
This book is an interesting case where you can know Vader in the early days of the Empire, and it is another step towards becoming the Darth Vader we see in the original trilogy. Now, in the movies, we don't really see how Anakin really turned into Darth Vader. I mean, we say, but there is no reason to assume that Darth Vader, I'm in a dark helmet and suit. Now I'm completely Darth Vader. I will forget about Padme. I'll forget about Tatooine, my mother. Nobody does that, right?
No, but that's the advantage of having the 19-year gap in between episodes 3 and 4, of course.
Which you can explore it. So I think this is great. And we get to see a what-if scenario if Vader did not join the Sith and save Mace Windu, which is really sad looking at it.
It is.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
In my case, well, this comic, it definitely surprised me the first time that I read it a while ago, and rereading it, yeah, it definitely holds up. It's a great read. Hayden Blackman, he pretty much nailed it on this one in the story. So it's decent. It's not bad. So it's definitely a good read. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one, and you can easily read it in Star Wars, the Marvel Legends Epic Collection, The Empire Volume 1, which also has a Purge comics. So you get 5 awesome Vader comics right there. So there is that. Give this one a read. So that's all for this one. So what will be the next EU podcast? We got something cooking up on that one, so stay tuned for that. So with that, We'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars podcast. Bye bye.
Bye.